The following podcast episode is presented to you cut and edited, as well as being broadcasted in stereo sound. To achieve full effect, it is recommended to listen with headphones in or on both ears.
Welcome to the finale episode for Season 3 of Yolk Everywhere. I'm Kyle.
I'm Trevor.
Hold off on the applause. Trevor, could you do your intro again? We kind of had an interruption there.
I'm Trevor, and sitting in our guest chair today we have...
Joe.
You might remember Joe from...
Yeah.
I'm happy to be part... sorry.
We're a little... Go ahead, Kyle.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Sorry, we're a little rusty because it's been a little longer than usual since our last episode.
Only 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, not exactly, but around that.
A few more days than usual.
A few more days than usual. But you might remember Joe from previous episodes. We had him in several in Season 1. He's been a previous guest this season, and he was even a temporary host when Trevor and I were having a little...
Creative differences.
Marital spat.
But we...
Creative differences.
We're not
It was professional.
Yeah, we got it all sorted out. We figured out everything. It was being with you, Joe. It was great, but Trevor and I, we just Yolk Everywhere is...
It's not the same without both of us.
Yeah.
But Joe, I think you might actually be our most frequent guest on the podcast.
Yeah, the premiere episode. You were on episode 3 of Season 1. You were on episode 5 of Season 1.
You were sitting quietly in the background of numerous episodes.
Yeah, it's uncountable how many you were on. You were on at least 5 before this.
It seems like you guys did a lot of your research to prep for me to come back.
Of course.
And I just want to say I really appreciate you guys to welcome me back on this finale of Yolk Everywhere. I'm really honored
season finale.
that maybe one of your all-time favorite guests, your most reoccurring guests,
Well, you were one
gets
of our
to
least
appear
favorite
back
Season 1,
on
but
the
you
last
got
episode of
approved.
Yolk Everywhere. And that really, it warms my heart that you guys thought of me. To welcome me back.
Well, we thought of you actually so much. We wanted you to start our podcast by responding to some of your previous statements on some of your previous episodes on the podcast.
This is actually a segment we introduced as...
Is this a fucking intervention?
No. This is a segment we introduced for our recurring guests, and we hadn't thought of it when you returned this season, so we decided to go back and do that now. So this is just going to be clips from Season 1. We just want you to... react.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
We're not
gonna play a few clips. Just give you a reaction. Okay, let's listen to the first clip.
All right. That's completely out of pocket. You should not have said that. I didn't say that. That was AI. That's very...
Listen, we have...
AI very recent in modern times.
What are you talking about?
Listen, we do not incorporate AI into our listen, we're not trying to do any gotcha journalism here. We just want you to respond. See how we've grown and changed over the times, Joe. So what do you have to say about that first clip?
Well, you already did.
You're denying that you said that.
What's the first clip? Are you not going to tell me what it is?
We played it for you. Didn't.
This is a bullshit fucking bit. This is fucking stupid. You
we'll
at least tell me what I can respond to.
We'll play one more clip.
Thanks for your patience. I'm gonna kill myself.
Now, obviously, you didn't follow through with that. Why is that, Joe?
Yeah. You seemed very gung-ho about this, and clearly you did not follow through on this statement. So,
do you plan to eventually follow through, or is that...
This is a bullshit exercise. I stand by everything that I said at one point in time.
So you will follow through with it?
Eventually.
Joe, you don't have to kill yourself. We're here
probably. For you. On this date, August 6th, 2020.
What?
Hold on. Joe, can I just talk to you over here for a second? Listen, I don't think the audience needs to know what the date is, you know. It's a little further out than usual, but it's like, you know, it doesn't have to be that far.
I'll still kill myself.
Okay, yeah, well...
It doesn't matter what year it is, what date it is.
Yeah.
Whatever I said, I'm still in the same mental state. So, listen, I don't know what kind of bit you're trying to fucking pull on me, but it's kind of fucking bullshit that you're just not even playing these clips, that you're inserting them later, and then you're just going to add something with the reaction that I have. So, realistically, that's kind of fucking stupid. So maybe even give me the context and I can respond to that legitimately. Okay. Or I'll ruin your bit of trying to pretend that this was recorded in 2021.
What?
Okay, hold on.
It's August 6th, 2020 right now. To this date. It is
random.
It is 11. It is 7:11 at night on August 6th, 2020.
I mean, we could all say a bunch of random numbers here, Joe, but it's It's
August.
I can play this fucking game too.
It's October.
You play this game.
It's
you play this game. You set me up. This is gotcha journalism.
It's
I don't care what you have to say.
34th,
It's Joever for you. It's Joever for you. We are not Barack.
It's not Joever. It's Grover. Now, anyway, we got one more. We just okay.
Play the last
obviously,
one.
Well, you don't like to us playing clips, so like, okay.
We'll just describe the previous.
Yeah,
clip
in your initial episode, where it's centered around you, you didn't seem to be enjoying yourself or the podcast. You had several notes saying that. I believe you said that our episode...
It was maybe the worst podcast you had encountered ever.
And that it was edited, and most podcasts aren't edited. But we did take your feedback. This season has been completely unedited.
Raw.
It's been
a raw season for us.
I mean, I touched up the audio.
Nice. Yeah.
Cuts
the
here and
necessaries.
There. It wasn't 100% on it. It was mainly a full stream, though.
But you kept it in its kind of original form.
So in response to your initial rant,
what are your thoughts that was also in our extra egg whites, I called it.
Yes,
where we cut it out because it was absolute trash.
Yeah,
and a little long,
but it was entertaining for some.
Yes, I remember using those words.
Do you stand by the statements in your previous rant?
Well,
I think the better question would be: do you think we have improved as a podcast?
Yes.
Well,
and keep in mind also, you were a co-host at one point, so
to the benefit of both of you, I'll answer both of the questions that you brought up. Trevor, will start with yours.
Thank you.
To say that I have my feelings, do I stand by those? When I was first invited to come back, I would have said, no, not at all. I think you guys have definitely improved. Right. I see a lot of new steps taken forward for this podcast that I personally do enjoy and that I would take away from it. But after the bullshit that we have started with this podcast, I would say fuck you and fuck you.
Just to be clear, he pointed at Trevor first.
And then Kyle?
Yes.
Go continue.
Because this podcast still stands on a throne of lies that feel like they are targeting me and my ideals towards an auditory format and an auditory medium that I hold so precious to myself. Kyle, on the other hand, let me answer your question.
But if we've improved since season 1.
I forgot, what was my question?
If we've improved since season 1.
Your improvement since season 1. I would say your improvement has taken large strides.
Thank
especially
you. All right, well, shall we start?
Okay, let's begin.
Thank you, Joe, for
all right, large strides, he says. Okay. So we will start off on our usual bit of news.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so, Joe, it's been a little bit since you've been on as either guest or host, so I'll just give you a little refresher on how the news works. So I have 5 headlines for this episode, some of which are true, some of which are false. I will not say how many of which, and I'll read them off. You and Trevor will guess, and whoever gets more right wins. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So the first headline we have: man sues barbershop after they only trimmed half his hair for quote-unquote half-off special.
I'm going to go right out of the jump. That feels true.
My heart would like to say that that's true because as a friend of a friend who owns a barbershop, I think that would be a very likely case scenario.
Iowa City barbershop, right?
Well, I don't want to name drop anything.
Of course, I mean
that's where most of Yolk Everywhere is recorded.
So I'm gonna lock in truth. This feels like a real bit that someone would do.
And I would like to antagonize Trevor and say false.
It is false. I made that up.
Gosh. Oh man. Oh gosh. That is just terrible. Okay, maybe I can come back in later rounds.
Okay. Next one we have.
I'd like to see that.
Speeding woman on cocaine kills drunk driver high on meth in Las Vegas.
Drunk and high on meth?
I was going to say false, but then I heard Las Vegas, and anything can happen
You can
there.
do multiple drugs at once.
I've never quite seen anything regular happen in Las Vegas. So why not meth and why not speed while speeding?
True. To me, the wording feels a little, dare I say, clunky.
I may have altered the headlines a little bit just to make it sound like my wording, just to be clear.
Sure.
My problem with that is everything considered technically falsified?
Well, paraphrasing, I think,
Yeah,
is
some are
allowed,
paraphrased.
if it's true. I'm going to say false on this one. I'm not sure that this feels realistic to me.
I would like to say true.
It is true, so that's 2 for Joe so far.
God, oh Jesus. Okay, I'm really falling behind here.
All right, next one we have...
Don't worry, I'm coming up.
We have monster hunters wanted in new search for the mythical Loch Ness Beast.
They're wanted, so that implies they committed a crime in their search for the Loch Ness.
It'd be more of they're wanted to help.
It's like a job opportunity.
It's a call to action for locals.
A classifieds ad.
Yeah.
I would say, I'm not allowed to ask where this stemmed from, the source, correct?
Well, I believe I took all my true headlines from AP News. Oddities.
Right.
Oddities
And
section.
what date would these have come from?
Sometime within the last week, about.
Last week,
Actually,
kind
also-
of like centric around like
Around this last week. You don't have to specify the time.
June 26th, 2020.
Within the last week.
Or is it August 6th, 2020 at 7:18 p.m.?
I don't know how true or false?
False.
True.
It is true, so that's 2 for Joe, 1 for Trevor. Okay.
There we go.
Stop.
Major come-ups.
I'm coming back right now. Oh,
You better slow down because I am making a run for number
I'm
one.
topping the fuck out of you right now.
All right. Next one we
Don't
have.
call it a comeback.
Yeah, I got it back that you can. Never mind. Keep
Next
going.
one we have. South Korean research lab discovers bacteria that can survive off electrical currents alone.
A bacteria that survives off of electrical currents. I'm not the biggest science guy. That feels false in my gut.
Organs.
In my guts, yes.
Sorry, I thought we were finished each other's.
Thoughts?
Sentences.
Nice.
Yes, we are.
But to be a friend of my friend over here,
He's pointing at Trevor, not me.
we've made up in the time since I said fuck him.
So we got 2 for Joe, 1 for Trevor so far. Are you
So
going to
far.
say the same?
I would
I'm
like
saying
to say
false.
I would like to say false as well.
Yeah, that feels false.
I don't believe you.
It is false. I made it up.
See,
All right.
good,
See,
similar
hey,
minds think
as
alike.
friends like to agree, I'm happy.
Happy to
we
help you
can-
get over the finish line.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you kind of burst through.
Okay, so we got 3 and 2. So this is to see if there's a tie. Or maybe not a tie. I don't know. It depends on
We'll
how your
see.
guesses go. Last one. Sorry.
Try again.
Let me...
We'll cut this.
Get it out. Get it out. Get it
Red
out.
leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Elderly woman fought off intruder, then fed him after he said he was hungry.
That's sweet.
Seems very kind in the modern era.
As an old soul myself,
Yes.
I feel like that would be something that I would like to see kind of love strewn about the earth that we don't really see much nowadays. I appreciate that kind of ideal. So I would like to say that is... True!
You don't have to yell.
Sorry, I wasn't
He's
sure
just
what you
very
were quite
excited
asking.
about the answer. And for the sake of, at the very least, being able to tie my competitor, I have to choose the opposite answer. I will be saying this is a false story.
All right, it goes to Joe. Joe is the winner
Oh,
of
I
the
hope you fucking blow me.
Man, I'm happy. You know, of all people to lose to, I'm glad it could be someone as knowledgeable and as friendly as our guest, Joseph Mosk.
Thank you, Trevor
All right.
Smith.
And
That's
then now
very
we,
kind out of you.
as usual, we go through our celebrity news just to, because everyone loves their celebrities. So let's go through that. Billionaire offers to buy a social media platform for $43 billion. And then we have billionaire who offered to buy social media platform for $43 billion must buy a social media company to avoid trial, judge rules. And then we have billionaire who bought social media platform for $43 billion after judge ruled they had to avoid trial. And billionaire who owns another social media platform agreed to hold cage match. And then we have billionaire says newly launched social media platform passed 100 million users in 5 days. And our latest one is billionaire who bought social media platform for $43 billion claims platform will be renamed to X.
Interesting. The celebrities have been very busy lately.
Yeah.
Seems rather quickly done.
What do you mean?
You say?
How so?
Like the purchasing and the
purchasing and the yeah, lots of things coming very, very quick one after another. But
can I say the world moves fast?
yeah, and you might be correct. I would like to say I don't think that seeing a celebrity make this sizable amount of purchase on such a large scale social media platform, I don't see how anything could possibly go wrong with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it might be a very safe investment out of them. They might respect the integrity and the history that some sort of type of social media platform like that just report those ideas of that singular person rather than trying to broaden, societal ideas.
Sure, that's a great take, Joe. I don't know what you're talking about, but shall we move on?
Yeah, this is actually a perfect transition, I believe, to
transition, more like trans lives matter. Am I right?
Yes, you are right.
Nice.
And we are going to be moving into a new segment that I've come up with that neither of the fellow gentlemen on this podcast have heard, which I'm going to currently title "Play That Funky Music." Now, Kyle just talked about some celebrity news. Did you know that sometimes celebrities will try to dabble in a few different fields than the initial field that made them a celebrity? For example, music. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mention some celebrities who have dabbled a little bit in music, even though they did not originally become famous in music. Now, for each celebrity, this is a competition. I'm going to provide you with a set of maybe guidelines that will help each of you earn points. It'll be different per different celebrity.
We're not going to be playing segments, right? We'll get copyright stricken if we do that.
Of course. I will be describing the music.
Rich people don't sue.
Sure. Maybe just for the sake of your entertainments, our host and our guest today, I'll maybe play it and we can cut it just so we can get your reactions to the music. But let's start with our first artist. Now, we all know William Shatner.
From Star Trek.
From Star Trek.
What is it, Hawaii 5-0? Is that the other one?
Maybe.
Reno 90210.
William Shatner, as many people know, have dabbled in music. Now, as our first celebrity who's dabbling in music, I'm going to give you a few different rules by which each of you can gain points. For William Shatner, you may gain points by telling me either A, how many albums he has, B, when his most recent album was, or C, which features he has on his most recent albums. You may ask some clarifying questions. I may not answer them. But
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. William Shatner, icon of men.
Of course.
Especially those that arrive at Comic-Con dressed as reds, yellows, or blues.
Of course.
I like Star Trek. So watch what you say.
You seem like a red to me. So William Shatner, what sort of genre of music would he kind of...
I believe it's spoken word.
He is most famous for spoken word covers. The one clue I will give you is that he has some original music.
I'm a big fan of his Slim Shady cover from Futurama.
Of course. Per his own description, his musical projects, quote, span the realms of rock, prog rock, to country and Christmas songs and blues. He, in terms of his original music, jumps around a lot. So again, you may tell me how many albums he has, when his most recent album was, or some of the features he has on his most recent album.
Shatner has to have so many fucking different albums. Like, Shatner.
The thing that I think makes this unfair is that, Trevor, you have mentioned this to me in private,
Yes.
so I already have an idea. I have forgotten the exact numbers, but I do have an idea, so I feel I do have a slight advantage.
Sure. I think then maybe you want to stick to either when his most recent album was or who his features may be, which we did not discuss, his features. Or maybe, Joe, you would like to start with your guess. Maybe that evens it out.
I'd love to see Shatner and like Lady Gaga do some sort of like cross cover. I would feel like you would bridge the gap between two dueling fandoms of the Star Trekkies and the LGBTQ plus community.
I don't think there's a dueling fandom between those two.
Nerds hate the gays.
Not Star Trek nerds. Star Trek is famous for being progressive.
Here's what
I don't know anything
I
about
think
Star
you're mixing
Trek.
it up with Star Wars.
Ooh.
Here's what I'll give you. Lady Gaga is not one of the features. Is not your only chance to guess. I will tell you the two features that I believe either of you could guess. One I would call a pop artist, and one I would call a country artist.
Iggy Azalea.
No.
I don't know any country artists.
Nicki Minaj.
No.
Can you tell us how recent their collaboration was with these?
That would be answering our B clause of when is the most recent album.
Okay, I feel like we should answer that
2017.
first.
No.
2019.
No.
2020.
You're getting closer.
2021.
This year, 2021?
Joe has received a point for 2021 on the first guess. So, again, William Shatner's most recent album is 2021. You may get points.
That's this year.
Right. You may get additional points by telling me how many albums William Shatner has or who his features
12
are on his album.
12 albums?
12 albums is not correct.
13.
Not correct.
14.
8.
No.
6.
9.
7.
Kyle has earned a point for nine William Shatner albums. He's currently tied 1-1. Would you like to guess features or would you like to move on to our next artist?
Nicki Minaj.
No.
Was their last feature in 2021?
Correct.
Lil Nas X.
I was going to guess that.
No.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
No.
What?
I will tell you both of the features that I'm looking at are male artists, both in pop and country.
Who's the guy who dressed up as the devil at the Grammys?
I do not know.
Who's the guy who will dress up as the devil in the Grammys?
I still do not know. Cannot predict the future.
Fuck.
I believe we are blanking on these guest artists, so I will tell you and we'll move on. Our first guest artist in pop is Joe Jonas, collaborating with William Shatner.
From the Bros?
From the Joe Bros. And our second guest artist is Brad Paisley.
Don't touch it. 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 Don't touch it.
For our listeners, Joe's foot is resting on the chair of our host, Kyle. Anyways, our second celebrity
I will kick you in the balls.
second celebrity artist is Ryan Gosling.
Really?
And Ryan Gosling
Wait. Is that the country category you said?
No. This is a fully new artist for you to gain points on.
Okay.
So, the country artist was Brad Paisley, who had collaborated with William Shatner. Now, Ryan Gosling has dabbled in music before the La La Land days, before any of his cinematic days. There are only two categories in which you can win.
His latest movie was pretty good. I like The First Man.
Yes. There are only two ways for you to earn points on the Ryan Gosling round. You may either tell me, one, when his band's album came out, or two, what genre it is. Again, this is not in any movie. This
Ska.
is a personal project. It is not ska.
Rock?
Not rock.
Pop.
Not pop. Let me give you... Well, maybe genre is the wrong word. Let me say theme. I'm gonna say this in your...
Is he like a Weird Al?
Not quite a Weird Al. The theme is centered around a particular holiday.
Christmas?
No?
Halloween.
Easter music.
Kyle has won a second point for
He makes Halloween
a Halloween
music?
album. The album Dead Man's Bones, out in, would anyone like to guess the year? One guess each.
2017.
No?
2019.
No, 2009.
Wow.
Dead Man's Bones by the man Dead Man's Bones. Halloween album. We have one final artist for our segment today.
He's been rolling this for a while.
Busy.
We currently have the celebrity Steven Seagal. known for his action and karate movies.
I believe we've brought him up before on this podcast.
I think he was in a Family Guy episode.
We likely have. I will be showing each of our guests the cover of his album to remind of his face. Here you are.
Okay,
Wait,
just
what's
for
the song you
so the
most
guests
recently
know it's
listened to?
a close up of Steven
the
Skull's
song
face.
you
He's
most
got a guitar neck in front of
I
him.
can't show you. Here is the way you get points. Tell me anything about his album that you think might be included. You may say genre. You may say certain effects or affects that are part of his songs.
Does he have kung fu sound effects in his music?
He does not have kung fu sound effects. Unfortunately, it is worse.
Does he have sex sound effects in his music? Is he like the divine feminine?
That is closer, but it is not. In terms of how rough it is.
Does he have yelling?
Not
Yodeling.
Quite. Not quite.
Car crashes?
No. After a few
Murder.
more guesses, I'll give you
He
a clue.
like an ISIS beheading. Like he went on Live Leaks, pulled out an ISIS beheading, and then just started like ripping that onto an album. Started to spit some Babytron over it.
Would anyone like to give a country of origin for the type of music he has released?
What?
Or a region of origin? What style, what country does he... Or region, again.
Isn't he white?
He is white.
Isn't he from America?
He is from America, so
it's not American?
he's not American.
Is he European of some sort?
Does
is
he have a
not.
band?
He hired a band.
Chinese?
No.
Is
Japanese.
the band
No.
is the
Korean.
band American?
I don't think so.
But he's the front man
He is.
and he sings.
Is it
He does.
African?
Does he?
You are closer.
Does
So
he
it is
change
African?
his language? While
He
sings?
changes his accent for sure.
This seems problematic.
Kenyan?
You are close, and it is problematic, I would say.
When's the last time he released a song?
His only full-length album was in 2004.
Oh, that's okay.
If we are out of guesses, I think I might show
Ghana?
you. No, not quite.
Why? Why?
South Africa.
I don't know. No.
I don't know. Egypt?
No.
I don't know many
I think
African
I'm
countries, unfortunately.
Right. I say Africa was close as a region.
So it's not in Africa.
Not necessarily.
Is it,
Like Vietnamese,
Not quite.
is it Middle
Laos,
Eastern?
No.
It's not Middle Eastern.
Afghan.
No.
And it's not European.
No.
It's not European, it's not
Did he
Asian.
make the ISIS beheading videos?
He did not.
Oh.
No.
So it's not European, it's not Asian. Wait, I didn't specify Asia, did I?
You guessed multiple Asian countries.
South
So it's
Asian,
Asian.
East
Not
Asian,
necessarily, but
What?
maybe.
Maybe.
Russian,
No.
South European.
No.
You said Vietnam, right?
He did.
Yeah.
Indian?
Okay, just tell us.
Okay, I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you. We will probably cut the song from the podcast for copyright. I would like your immediate reactions as soon as I pause the song.
Sure.
Okay?
Now, Trevor, you're a music person. Would you mind just describing that for our audience since we can't play it? Would you mind just giving them like a
He's like the
description?
Bob Marley of white people.
Right. He's an American, I believe.
But would you mind just
actor.
describing the instrumentation of the song? And the
Right. We heard some electronic drums. We heard a Jamaican woman introducing Steven Seagal, who sang in a Jamaican accent, singing about the different sexual endeavors he would be having on the island of Jamaica. Again, to reiterate in case I blew past it too quickly, Steven Seagal did sing in a full Jamaican accent.
Okay, so then it's Jamaican style.
Yeah, like island, maybe a soca song.
So that's not close to South America or Asia.
No, not quite. I said
Or
first,
South, or sorry,
I said
Africa or
I said
Asia. It's
Africa
more
was the
South America.
closest. I said Africa was the closest. to
Geog-
Jamaica.
geographically.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. I could feel like I could hear
Yeah,
that
that's
song in like a
specific.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and I would
That's-
question it, but then I would like skip over it for like Goldfinger Superman.
Right, and then you would
Goldfinger?
find out months later that it was Steven Seagal singing.
Yeah, and I would be kind of mortified that the same movie that I'm watching at the time of the release of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 is a movie from Steven Seagal karate chopping. Probably the same people he's... I don't even... Fuck.
I know. Very confusing.
What are you grabbing for?
Nothing. That is all we have this week for Play That Funky Music. Thank you both for participating. I believe Kyle came out on top with a whopping 2 points to 1 point.
Oh, really?
Where'd you get the second?
Oh.
Kyle will edit in post and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 2-1. Kyle wins.
Say numbers 1 through 5 real quick so he could edit those in.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Has anybody ever told you that your podcast voice kind of sounds like the NPR format where they come on for the daily and they just like relive like journalistic entries of what's happening in the world in like the last couple days, but it's in a very like monotone-esque like soft-spoken voice?
I have not heard that yet, but
No,
I
no one
will
has
keep
ever
that
said
in
that.
mind as we are moving forward.
Should we,
through the podcast?
Speaking of feedback, should we go through our feedback from our listeners?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
That was
Great.
a nice segment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you to
no,
all
I
of our
like that.
listeners who submitted.
And please leave a comment or a review on iTunes, because as of this being uploaded, we are now on iTunes, and you can leave a review if you want.
Yes, and again, speaking of being on major platforms, we do have another unofficial sponsor for this podcast. We are happy to be unofficially sponsored by Hydro Flask. Now, if you need a good water bottle that keeps your liquids cold and your liquids hot when they're supposed to be cold and hot, please take a look at some Hydro Flask. It is big enough for you to put stickers on. It is big enough for you to put a variety of liquids in depending on what you purchase. Joe, you're a Hydro Flask holder. Do you want to talk about how Hydro Flask has personally improved your living experience? Yes, thank you, Joe. Hydro Flask, the water bottle that once you dent it, don't worry, you'll dent it again and it'll even out eventually. Hope again that they would hear this and pay us money retroactively.
The war in the Ukraine has been reaching into massive land masses for the past
The what?
2 years.
It has been reaching massive land masses. I have heard that on, I believe, AP News.
That's what you sound.
The war on what? I'm not familiar with that.
I can't get over it, dude.
We're just making up what something like NPR would sound
You
like. It's
sound
just
like
made
the
up.
Daily. That's definitely not from 2022.
Should we move on, maybe?
Yeah. Joe, you, as a guest, have brought a bit. Would you like to explain to us what you've brought to the table?
Yeah, give me a second. So, as we have been saying, playing for the future of Yolk Everywhere seems like an importance. As nowadays we are ending Yolk Everywhere in its perpetuity, as this is the final episode, I would think the longevity of the show should rightfully be carried on. So I thought of a good way to kind of reboot Yolk Everywhere. And in that sense, I would like us to decide about how the reboot could possibly go about. So what I have here for us is a tier list of possible new hosts for Yolk Everywhere. These are the people that could lead us into a new beginning, if you will say so.
Now, for our listeners out there, he has a tier list with S at the top, then A, then maybe like a guest, then C, then blackballed?
Blackballed. So excuse me. Blackballed, like not welcome.
They're banned from the podcast.
And then the last one is jail murderer. And then
No,
Trevor...
it's just murder.
Jail murder.
Oh, sorry. And then Trevor, would you like to list the all the
No, we'll go
people
one-
that-
we'll go
We'll
one
get
at a
them.
time.
We'll get them as
One
we
at a
get
time.
there. So what I would like us to do for our final segment of Yolk Everywhere is to imagine what kind of commonplace the reboot would take and where that reboot would take us.
Sure.
As we throw on our sunset of Yolk Everywhere, who is up to bring the mantle back? So what I would like us to do is rank the following people that we have down below as to who would be the best suited hosts for where Yolk Everywhere is headed to be.
In the rebirth era.
In the rebirth, the reboot, the redux
Okay.
of
So
Yolk Everywhere.
Who's our first potential new host?
Our first potential new host is Tiger Woods.
Okay.
PGA golfer, Grand Slam champion, one of the greatest legacies of all time in the PGA Tour and in golf sphere. Also well known for cheating on his wife multiple times.
With about how many people? Was it 16?
A lot. About, I would say 16 would be near correct.
Now, I don't follow Tyler Woods too
Do you
closely.
want to take that one
Do you
again?
want to try again?
Oh, what?
Do you want to maybe try that sentence one
Think
more
of
time
an
with the
animal.
right name?
Think of an animal.
What's his name?
What's his name?
Tyler Woods.
Nope.
Okay.
Think of an animal.
Yeah, you're close. It rhymes.
Kyler Woods.
Think of
That's
an
not an
animal.
animal.
Think of an animal.
Cat.
Closer.
You're a lot
closer.
I promise.
Orange. No.
Think of
orange
Frosted
cat.
Garfield.
Orange cat, not Garfield.
Tabby.
Not Tabby.
More
Bigger,
ferocious.
scarier.
Cheetah.
Closer in animal, but further in name.
Think Tyler, but cheetah.
Cheater.
No.
Cheater?
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, no. True.
Yeah,
True.
that describes this man.
That describes
but
Tiger.
not his name.
But not his golf.
Oh, you said
attribute.
Tiger.
Tiger.
Woods.
Tiger
Okay.
Woods.
Oh, I've heard of Tiger Woods.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Tiger Woods, longevity, one of the heads of the PGA Tour now for at least the Players Association.
I feel like he would bring a lot to the table in regards of like sports knowledge if maybe this podcast were to shift towards sports.
Unfortunately, it's not quite sports related. So maybe I'd list him as maybe like a guest.
I think a guest could be interesting.
A guest for Tiger. I think maybe if you wanted to spew a little bit of knowledge, kind of take it into a new trajectory.
Yeah, maybe
find new
do like a
niche
golf
group.
episode.
I think that would be appreciated.
Yeah.
We can move him to maybe like a guest.
That
We
feels
can toss him into there.
Who's our second option?
Our second option we have here is Bilbo Baggins
Right.
from J.R. Tolkien's Legacy prequel to The Lord of the Rings.
I feel like he would have a lot to talk about. He's been around for what 11
many years.
And like millions of stories. Interesting stories.
From A's to B's all the way to
Didn't he meet a dragon one time?
I think he did.
Smog, I believe.
Smaug. Smaug.
Smaug.
Am I saying that correctly? Smaug?
Smegma.
Maybe.
Smegma the dragon.
I think he might be a pretty up there host, but in terms of like, he probably has a bunch of stories that J.R.R. hasn't even written about.
But
Probably.
my worry for this podcast alone is it doesn't seem like a storytelling time.
Well, we have
We
our
run-
segment, storytelling by the fireside with me,
Storytime by the fireside.
With
Kay
Kyle.
Nasty.
Do you think Bilbo would be able to live up to the legacy you've set?
Like, you have some pretty illustrious White Castle stories.
Indeed, and my Jimmy John story.
And your Jimmy John story. Do you think Bilbo could live up to those?
Maybe.
I think, honestly, we could put him near S.
Near us or at us?
I think at.
At S, Bilbo Baggins.
I think so.
Very quickly.
He's experienced. He's done a lot.
I think he's good at telling.
But
Obviously, none of these potential hosts would be as good as me or Trevor or even you, Joe.
Thank you, Kyle. But I would like to say that Bilbo might just quite be a little bit of a predicament.
Maybe like a Mike Hogg.
A Mike
Mike
Hogg.
Hogg. Too
kind
many
of
stories.
Obsessive.
Could be. So
in a
maybe
sense.
A.
Let's
Do you
drop
want to
him
go with
down
A?
to A.
I'm a little
feels
worried
good.
people might not be able to.
He's a little too interesting.
People might not be able to share that screen time with Bilbo there, so we can move him down to A.
Yeah.
Away from kind of the S tier, the guaranteed ideal.
Of course. Do you want
Our next opportunist, if you will, is the Crayola box of 120 crayons.
a lot of options?
There's a lot of
here's the
color
thing.
there.
Something that our podcast has been missing is diversity. We've had all white guests, primarily male. I think, and with Crayola, you got a wide variety of colors.
I fully agree. Diversity desperately needed within a realm like this to really bring out a lot more of that kind of characterization that the story can be pushed through. But I think the biggest part is this podcast seems to be run by two straight men to the bit. You're all about getting the information out there. But a color commentator coming in might be that key to find a balance necessary within this podcast.
I do agree. I think this might jump straight to S for me.
I'm very tempted for the Crayola color pack.
And I'd put it in S as well.
You think the Crayola color pack is very favorable for this?
I'd say so.
A great option.
We can definitely toss the Crayola color pack all the way up there.
So I'm seeing our next guest. Do you mind if I...
Yeah, Trevor, I think this one might be your expertise here.
So our next potential host for the Rebirth would be leftist political streamer Hassan Piker. Streams on Twitch, gives political commentary, very rarely on occasion, games, very rare. Here's listen, I'll say, I'm a big fan of Hassan as a streamer, love what he does. However, I fall back on Yolk Everywhere. One of our foundational rules is no politics.
Exactly. So I'd put him at the very bottom.
I do agree that this leftist Sorry, did I hit a mark there? It seemed to recoil my associates.
No, we're just agreeing with your description.
That a lefty commie dirtbag, political.
Well, listen, we don't need to get into the mire of.
Would be a little bit more.
Dive into our politics.
We should send all commies to jail.
See, this is why he's at the bottom of the list, because of we don't talk.
It gets
politics.
A little messy. We don't do.
He's not a fit for Yolk Everywhere.
We don't fit any side of the political spectrum on this show, regardless of personal feelings.
Jail murder all commies.
Jail murder for this as a potential host.
Right.
Because we don't do politics on this show.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. It's in the right context. Not for this show.
Right.
We like to provide a space to escape the world.
Jail murder the leftists.
Our next guest,
Animal from the Muppets.
Yes.
Now,
I have a little bit of a bias, naturally. I study percussion in
I'm also a Muppets fan.
Yeah, so
I'll let you two take this, as they would be replacing your
Sure.
Yeah. How about you two discuss with your fandoms of Animal?
Now, let me start with music. Listen, I'm a musician, and I do potentially feel threatened by another musician coming on, but
especially one as good as Animal.
I know that's the thing, is undeniably one of the best drummers of all time.
Indeed.
I don't know how we could pass on Animal. I mean, maybe not as a full-time host. He does seem to be limited maybe in like his vocabulary. No offense if Animal is listening.
He's not much of a conversationalist.
But again, if we had like a regular segment involving Animal, I think that could work on my end. What about as a fan?
I think so. Yeah, I'd put him. I don't know. I'm leaning somewhere between A and maybe like a guest.
Yeah.
If I may,
please
go ahead.
Animal seems like a guest is almost somebody who comes on once, comes on twice. But Animal seems like you could find a solidified place, maybe almost as like a tertiary aspect of the show.
Maybe not every episode, but every 2 to 3 episodes, perhaps.
Animal might be able to find a segment to find himself safe, secured.
I do feel I'm leaning a little towards A. Because there is not a segment between A and guest, I would lean A.
I'd agree. He'd be like a regular... He'd have a regular segment.
Sure,
we can put Animal.
The Animal segment.
Our next, the famed, the fortuned, Conan O'Brien. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand that Conan O'Brien might have some issues with scheduling, being that he has his own podcast.
Well, to be fair, Yolk Everywhere is it is bigger than his podcast, so it'd be pretty easy to get him on.
People might be a little bit more excited to see Conan switch places to Yolk
into
Everywhere.
A more like prime time slot.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would make the time, and honestly, listen, I know we talked about maybe Bilbo Baggins being a bit of a mic hog. While I do feel that maybe that might be coming from either one of you, I think getting someone in as up and coming as Conan O'Brien could actually put us in a good position.
Somebody who still has another step to take within the industry, like Conan.
A lot of promise and a lot of room to grow for sure.
He really does show a lot of potential. I've listened to some of his podcasts. I think crossover could potentially happen in the future.
And I've heard he's been on like network television a few times, and I think he's.
I've been on TV a few times.
Right.
Maybe not network,
Some
but local.
stints
I've been on
here,
some
some-
local stations once or twice.
And I think he could be a really good addition to our whole vibe here.
I think he'd fit in.
Conan might be very comfortable within this sphere, but we'd have to see him kind of grow into that place.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
if
always
he's
have to
quite-
fit the new
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd be an instantaneous member, but somebody who could quite work his way in.
Absolutely. I'm leaning S next to the Crayola box.
I would agree.
Is Conan overtaking the Crayola box? Or is Conan more of a post Crayola box?
Honestly, I can't really see anything surpassing a Crayola box.
The Crayola box really does take its notes.
There's a lot of flexibility with the Crayola box, and Conan has maybe more potential to eventually surpass.
But
But we'd
as
have
it-
to see.
Exactly. As it stands at this moment, Conan doesn't quite give us the idea we need to surpass the Crayola value pack.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's head into our next replacement opportunity. Hot, sexy Tony the Tiger.
Right.
Yeah.
Known for his appearances alongside famous brands such as Frosted Flakes.
Yes,
Primarily Frosted Flakes.
Imagine if Tony the Tiger stopped eating Frosted Flakes and instead took a Barry Bonds-esque level of steroids.
Okay, I think I have a very specific role for him.
I think I have one similar in mind, but please go.
He's known for saying they're great
Correct.
about the Frosted Flakes, so I think he'd be an excellent choice for product placements. Talking up product placements,
Maybe his connections within the industry to get us some
Exactly.
paid sponsors.
Exactly.
Get him some paid sponsors.
but I can't see him as a host.
Maybe for the ad reads.
Yeah, he'd be the ad break person, Tiger, whatever.
To me, that puts him maybe bottom of A tier.
A good supportive member, but not quite one that takes the shine through.
He's an addition. He's not a rebirth.
I could understand that. Kyle, how about you take the lead?
Okay, it looks like the next one, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks to me like Donnie Darko?
Yes, but specifically, we could take that as Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake
If that would be a
Gyllenhaal,
little
okay.
easier for you. Jake Gyllenhaal, but young.
Jake Gyllenhaal, but young. Now, I've seen a few clips online of Jake Gyllenhaal in interviews. He seems like a fun sort of person to have on. I think
Charismatic.
he has the potential to be a guest, but he's likely busy doing films and such. So I don't know if he'd be a reliable person to have on, you know?
You're worried
probably
that
busy.
he wouldn't quite show up.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be able to
For a show as regular as ours.
Yeah.
to dedicate the time necessary.
A show with such a consistent schedule as ours.
Yes, right. And Jake Gyllenhaal, just with his other endeavors, might not be able to keep up with
Yeah.
that.
Frankly, honestly, because of that, I might put him in C. I would love to have him as a guest, but again, just hard to nail down. Can we rely on him to show up?
Especially as reoccurring. Whereas Tiger Woods might have an off season acting unless there's a strike. But nobody would possibly see an actor strike coming in the foreseeable future.
Of course not.
So let's maybe pop him into C.
We could
He'd be wonderful to have as a guest if we could nail him down.
Donnie Darko can make his way into the middle of the board. Kyle, our next one.
Looks like it is HAL 9000. Now, I think HAL, computer, infinite knowledge from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Personally, I know generally we talk it up, but personally, I'd put him in S tier because
Wow.
it's a machine. He'll always show up. You know, he's reliable. He's always got something to talk about.
But can you replace that human factor?
Of course.
Elaborate.
Is there any worry about how's sentience maybe diverging the intended path
Oh, no.
of what? No.
No, AI is the future, without a doubt.
No
There's
doubt.
nothing wrong with AI.
you're not scared of where Hal might take our ship of a podcast.
No. Here's the thing. It's a movie. He's just an actor robot. He's not actually like that. I'm sure he's a nice guy. So
I sense a little hesitation. You said I feel like he's a nice guy.
I haven't met him, so I can't say for sure.
I feel like because of that, I put him at the top of A. He would never run out of content. I'm sure he would know the best way to do it, but on the slight chance, the non-zero chance, that something goes terribly wrong, maybe top of A. Or bottom of S.
I'd say bottom of S, because anything can go wrong. Like the crayons, they could break.
You would like to put Hal behind Conan O'Brien?
That feels right to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Hal can make his way up to there. We can move into this next opportunity. This is my dad.
Mark Mosk.
Yes. This is my father, Mark Mosk, a man of many talents, a man of many words, a man who is not afraid to speak his mind.
Now, you know Mark better than we do.
Yes.
Could we treat this one as almost like a pitch?
Well, I would say Mark to come in as a replacement would be somebody who would show a semblance of passion, but it might not be in the avenue you guys are hoping. I think he would join the likes of Tiger Woods. He would maybe drive this podcast towards a divided interest.
An opposing viewpoint.
An opposing viewpoint. As where you guys are heading with Yolk Everywhere, its reboot might need the necessity of showing some new colors. And Mark Mosk might be that person. He could tell you about
that color.
What are you saying about my dad?
You said new color. You said new colors, so he might be that color.
How about you step away from saying about my dad's colors or your different beliefs? Because that's kind of fucked up to press that kind of issue with my family.
Here's my thing. You know,
do you have something to say?
Yes,
that's my fucking father.
I feel that while Mark might have a bit to offer, listen, he's a great guy. I've met him, I think. He might offer some.
How about you watch your fucking tone?
I think he might put some opposing viewpoints, but listen, if we look at some of the people who are up on the board, I think we can all agree, as great as Mark is, not Conan, not the 128 Crayola box, right? If we go down to the next level, Animal brings expertise in music and Muppetry. Tony the Tiger, some brand recognition. If we move down to maybe like
you forgot about Bilbo.
Bilbo, great storyteller. If we move down to like a guest, we have prolific golfer and sex haver, Tiger Woods. We have legendary actor Harrison Ford. Maybe we're starting to approach Mark territory. Frankly, I think he might be above Jake Gyllenhaal and C. I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure what Mark would bring to the podcast in a regular format, in a consistent, regular format.
Now, we've had Joe on as a guest multiple times, and
that's gone great.
Mark is his father, so I'd say maybe like a guest from Mark.
Mark being able to appear here and there, have a word wise.
And then perhaps, if it goes as successfully as you, maybe he gets brought on.
Yeah, and I understand your hesitancies towards my father. I think he hits a different market that we're looking for. Yeah. I'd be down to move him around Jake Gyllenhaal-esque. We could put him.
Let's put him maybe near the bottom of like a guest.
Yeah, put him
right behind, Harry. Right with Harrison Ford.
Yes.
Yeah, put him after
All
Harry.
right, we can
absolutely.
Definitely. This next one, this is not my roommate. You guys are my roommates. I live with you guys. Right. This is Logan.
A good friend of yours.
A good friend of mine.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've spoken to Logan on the phone, correct?
Yes, you've had plenty of conversation.
He was a
Purdue man.
Yeah.
A valedictorian.
an intelligent fellow.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would have a lot to offer our program.
I'm
I'm just gonna say it.
Look at him. I think
For the viewers, the listeners, we are looking at a picture of him from a top-down angle. His eyes are wide with excitement. He's listening to a very good artist. It is implied he's listening to a very good musician. So good music taste. Maybe he could add to our music knowledge.
Trevor, do you mind sharing the song
Oh, yes.
listed that he's listening to?
It is I'm in Love, in parentheses, with a Stripper by T-Pain, featuring another artist. So, honestly, I think Logan goes to S. I would love to get Logan in the studio.
I think Logan as a person, a voice to work in here could be something promising.
Another guidepost.
Indeed.
Sure, we can move Logan up here. Are we thinking Logan around house size? Maybe,
I honestly, I don't think anything can beat Box of Crayons.
But I think he might be above Conan.
Possibly.
Logan might bring a more of a young voice to the crowd, whereas Conan might be a little bit more inexperienced and wrinkly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Logan maybe fits better with our current demographic.
Mm-hmm. Now, this next one might be a little bit more confusing.
Sure.
This is a child.
Right.
This is IV as a child. This is
our
baby,
other roommate, Ivy West.
This is baby IV. Where would you put baby IV on this list of possible replacements?
Listen, baby Ivy,
Well,
adorable as hell.
I
right?
think that my issue with this is that he's no longer a baby, so how would we get an infant
Hard to lock him
version
down.
of a currently adult
Very
man?
difficult guess to quite
And
grasp.
even if we did get him, can I be honest? A lot to learn. He has a
Yeah.
lot to learn
Lot
at this
to-
stage.
Um,
I'm just gonna shoot this out there. Baby IV,
Well-
as cute as he is, I'm leaning blackballed.
Well, honestly, I think he'd get along with Box of Crayons quite a bit.
I think baby IV and Box of Crayons might have had a lot of relations in the past.
So if we can see, but that's a contingency.
That's a wide range.
Yeah,
that
if
have
we
here,
can
a
get
wide
Box of
difference.
Crayons,
If we can possibly land Box of Crayons in our podcast,
mm-hmm.
ours as I say that I am now welcomed. Will Ivy be able
Baby
to
Ivy.
bounce? Will baby Ivy be able to bounce off of a personality, a character such as that?
Frankly, us being able to get 128 pack of Crayola seems like a large contingency to me.
How about maybe we meet in the middle? What if we say maybe like a guest? If we have Box of Crayons, then
Maybe
Baby IV shows up as a guest.
maybe top of guest segment
Yeah,
if we can get the Box of Crayons.
exactly. Just above Tiger Woods and below Tony the Tyler.
Tony the what?
Tony the Tyler.
Baby Ivy used to also have a nickname.
I believe we've already established where we'd put Baby.
Yeah,
I think we
nickname
agree on
wouldn't
maybe
change.
like
Yeah,
the
we could
above.
put. I think about
Top of
like
guest,
just
top of
top
guest.
of guest.
Just
yeah.
between Tony the Tiger Woods.
Okay, so I think we've got a few more left. Maybe if we can just do a quick speed round to get through some of these.
This episode's running a little long.
So,
Sure. What about Chicken doing a kickflip?
all right, is that a what type of board is
Looks
that?
like a chick.
It's a
baby.
baby chicken
A chick.
performing a
They're called.
kickflip on a small skateboard.
I think you could call it a chick flip.
Yeah,
What about the chick flip?
I think guest.
Yeah, that'd be a great guest.
Great.
I don't know if they'd have enough content to
Not enough to
But
say,
charisma.
maybe
Charisma.
once a season.
Yeah, a guest.
but once a season to work their way in here.
I don't know. I'd put him above Harrison Ford.
We can
I'd
put him
say
right
so.
above Harrison Ford. I
That
think
feels
that's okay.
perfect.
That Chicken doing a kickflip,
Chick flip.
chick flip would be perfect.
Yeah, all right.
This next one is former dorm mate to us all, former roommate to myself. This is Ben Kleinberg, better known as BK. Kyle might have had a lot of experience with him around a few years ago now.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle, how about you regale us with maybe a memory or two of where BK sits in your heart and where you might put him on this board because of that?
Oh, yeah, there'd be times when he'd come back from his nightly endeavors and give me a bit of a shoulder massage, which I appreciated, while I didn't exactly ask for it. But it was
They were
all right.
nice. They were good.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, I think BK, from what I know from him, has a lot of interesting stories, and I don't think he would be a mic hog.
No, I think he's a man who would like to spread the love, if you will, from my
Very loving
idea.
person.
Yeah, a very handsy, feely, good, nice person who would love to share endeavors, stories.
I would personally put him in S tier above Hal.
I'd agree.
BK, I think, would be a wonderful addition to the Yolk Everywhere scene. What about living legend and also probable cheater Kanye West?
Well, now we've brought up some Kanye quotes on our podcast previously in season 1, so he definitely does have something to contribute to the podcast.
What would you think Kanye could contribute to said podcast?
That I am not sure.
You never know with him. Honestly, I think he might not be as focused as we would want. He might have something interesting to say. Sometimes.
He's
maybe
also
not a lot of the time.
unpredictable.
Dangerous. Maybe the top of blackballed.
I'm not sure if Kanye would be the most comfortable individual to have within this group.
And if we talk about a mic hog, I mean,
He very much would hog the mic.
I do think so.
I don't think he'd hog it as much as Coors. I'd put him the bottom of blackball after Coors Light.
After Coors Light.
And he might get us some more traction for the recognizability, for the controversiality.
Yes, I think he might be able to get us some clicks, but not quite the press.
Yeah.
Our next guest, or our next possible replacement, is the living legend of news anchoring of Fox Regality, ex-Fox Regality, excuse me.
Sorry?
Tucker Carlson.
X? I mean, I don't follow
He got fired.
Fox. I don't follow Fox. I
Oh, shit. It's 2021. Tucker Carlson still works Tucker Carlson is working for Fox.
So, Tucker, here's the thing.
Again, politics.
No politics. So that immediately to me shoots him down to
Same
jail
vein
murder.
as Hassan and Joe.
See, but here's the thing, too.
Joe Rogan.
If we're comparing him to Hassan and Joe Rogan, those two people still have very successful shows and podcasts. Now, just imagine with me, if you will, if Tucker stopped working for Fox News for any reason, he would try to stream on Twitter somehow and drastically lose his following.
I don't think anyone streams on Twitter.
I'm just saying, hypothetically, in the future, if Twitter became kind of a long-form video thing, and if Tucker left Fox News, and if he happened to stream on Twitter, I just think, again, no politics. I don't know if he has the juice without his associations with Fox News.
Right. Without the platform that he was given, Tucker Carlson might not be able to continue that.
I think he's far bottom.
Even more righty.
So to the right of the, yeah.
Than Joe Rogan. How about comedy legend Larry David?
Now, Larry David, he's written Seinfeld. He has his own show, Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I believe on that show they do a lot of improvisation. So he'd be able to think on his feet. I think...
Very quick with it.
I'd put him high on the list. I think he could be a solid host.
I think the Larry David could do quite a lot. He might have some controversial opinions.
And again, if we want to talk about potentially a Mike Hogg, I might be putting him above Ben Kleinberg in the S tier. great addition, but maybe he'd have to adjust to this format.
Larry David would
I'd
quite
agree.
scare me, but I think he would be a welcome guest once he finally settles his feet in.
Right.
Trevor, how about you take in our next one?
All right, next guest looks like the legendary comedian Nathan Fielder from his shows Nathan For You and his appearances on other Comedy Central programming.
His only official show is Nathan For You.
To our knowledge.
In 2021.
Honestly, I feel like I could see him sitting in the background of something, and just when he has something to add, he would add it.
He certainly is more of a quiet presence. He's very good at letting others speak, so I think maybe he could be a good host.
My
when
thought
there are
process.
guests, but sometimes we don't have guests is the issue.
He might let somebody overtake.
He's not forceful enough.
Perhaps.
I feel like maybe somewhere along A, maybe not a good full-time host, but definitely more than a guest.
I
might
would
not
put
be
him at
able
the
to-
bottom of A behind Tony Tyler.
Is everybody Tyler to you?
Sorry, what?
How about we go to our next one? Kyle, you're a big fan of this special individual.
Oh, Paddington. Oh, that's S tier.
Why?
It's Paddington.
You're more familiar with Paddington than us. Can you maybe regale?
He's quite a friendly individual. He likes marmalade very much so. He's just a friendly guy. You know, anyone gets along with him. He gets along with everyone. Everyone likes him. He'd be a great host, I think. I'd put him just below Box of Crayons.
And how much marmalade do you think he intakes?
I don't know. I don't measure it.
Would there be any worry of his messiness of marmalade? We have a lot of expensive equipment around. Would Paddington maybe be a little bit of a poison to the production side?
I don't know. He's pretty considerate of others. I think he'd be able to keep it clean for the podcast.
Is his consideration pre or post?
Sorry?
Is he more of an apologize afterwards?
Oh, no,
or
he's-
take into
He's
consideration?
very conscious of others.
I haven't seen the movie. Okay.
It's an excellent documentary. Excellent couple of
You know,
documentaries.
Sure.
I trust you as a host, and honestly, I would take your word. I'd put him below Box of Crayons, right above Joe's friend Logan.
Right, not roommate.
Yes.
And let's move into our final. I'll take a step back from you
Yeah.
two and let you two kind of riff this one out for you all.
If you could maybe
Now,
just
is this-
plug your ears.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble making out the photo. Is that... Who is she?
If our guest would like to recuse himself, I believe this. If I can just talk to you over here, I think this is Joe. The
Oh,
picture is sideways. It's hard to tell.
Oh, I just thought the pink and it's just
And
a
the hair,
feminine looking face.
Very youthful face.
Youthful.
I hope you guys are saying nice things about me.
So who's
I
that?
mean, about this person.
That's Joe.
That's Joe. Oh,
Sorry.
can we restart?
Yeah, let's try it. Let's
You can
lead
do
into
yours.
it. We're gonna lead into it one more time.
Now he looks like Joe.
Joe, because this person looks so much like you, I'm assuming it is you. If you could recuse yourself for this conversation, maybe plug your ears.
Now Joe was a co-host.
How was
a few
he?
episodes ago? I thought he brought a lot to the table. Obviously, not as good as you or I, but
Naturally.
definitely brought a fresh new take to it. I think I'd put him just above Ivy myself.
Okay. So we could see him being above. Because here's my thing. The reason we put Ivy in A is because of his desperate need to do visual bits in an auditory medium. Now, when I think of Joe, I think of a lot of the visual bits that he would bring to the show.
Yeah,
And-
that's why I'd also put him in A.
Yeah. That is a similar thing that I'm feeling, is putting Joe in A, maybe slightly above Ivy, because if nothing else, his experience. He has a lot more appearances than Ivy.
Exactly.
So Joe Moss goes in A right above our former guest and host, Ivy. And that's Joe, you can unplug your ears now.
Yep, thank you.
So, Joe, we have our final list. I believe we've moved our guest exactly where he's supposed to go, and that is...
Shall we read it for our listeners?
I'm going to go very quickly through this. I think I can take this if you're all right with that.
Go right ahead.
From top to bottom in the S tier, we have Crayola 128 pack, Paddington, Logan, Conan O'Brien, Larry David, Ben Kleinberg, and Hal
9,000.
In A tier, we have Bilbo Baggins, Joe Mosk, Ivy West, Animal from the Muppets, Tony Tiger, and Nathan Fielder. In Maybe Like a Guest, we have Ivy West as a baby, Tiger Woods, Chick doing a kick flip, otherwise known as a chick flip. We have Harrison Ford, and then we have Mark Mosk. In C tier, we have Jake Gyllenhaal and then Randy Marsh. In the blackballed category, we have Coors Light and Kanye West. And in the jail murder category, we have Hassan Piker, Joe Rogan, and Tucker Carlson, all for their political leanings and affiliations, which are just simply not in line with this program.
So can I make one more observation before we leave, and one more question can I pose to you all?
Yes,
Of course.
As we are looking for possible new, better host replacement for Yolk Everywhere as we transition into our season 4 of Yearboot,
Yes.
who on this S list tier will be making that replacement standard
Well, now this
for our two historic and now soon to be retired guests?
this is just if
Hosts.
we were to be retired, which we will not
Which
be.
you will be,
This is-
now stating that this is the final episode of Yolk Everywhere.
I think it's
and
time.
I really honor.
I think
and
we should
I
move
thank
on to
both
our
of
next
you.
segment. Trevor, would you like to move on to our next segment, Yahoo Answers?
Sure. Here's the thing. Yahoo Answers, if you've listened to our most recent episode, has unfortunately passed on. Yahoo Answers is no longer with us.
Rest in peace.
We're going to do a new replacement segment that for now I'm going to call Ask Reddit. We've replaced Yahoo Answers with multiple subreddits from the website reddit.com. People asking different questions. The name is subject to change. It is relatively new. But we have taken questions from multiple subreddits for this episode, namely the subreddit No Stupid Questions, and from the subreddit Ask Men. We figured since this is all males on this episode that perhaps that would be a fitting category. I'm going to keep this just to a few questions. We're going to test this out and perhaps we'll keep it for the next season. Our first question that we have is going to be, how do people come up with cool acronyms? Is it usually first the acronym and then the name, or first the name and then the acronym? For example, Special Tactics and Reconnaissance is the acronym SPECTRE.
Now, I would think you come up with the acronym itself first, and then you figure out the words for it. Like if I say, like for Yolk Everywhere, if I say I want to come up with an acronym for it, I'd call it Yolk. Y standing for Yo. O standing for
Oh.
Our. L standing for Listening. And then K standing for Kyle. And then there's a silent P at the end. Podcast. Yo, Our Listening Kyle podcast.
Right. Joe, it looks like you have some thoughts regarding this method.
I would say that this kind of methodology comes from the idea of both being a consideration at the point of origin. So as you come into the idea of what something would be called, at the same time you are figuring out a way to shortenize it, to find that acronym. And in that realm, you start to craft both at the same time.
So you're saying it's kind of a concurrent formulation.
Correct.
All right. I feel like I'd be leaning towards the concurrent. It's hard to just do one, I think, and then make the other one fit.
I'd agree.
And I apologize. This was asked by user, "What's the matter with you?" And the U is just the letter U. Awesome. We will be answering their question. I think I'm going to do about 2 more for this episode. Let's see. Is it possible to grow taller at 18? So I'm 17, about to turn 18, and currently I'm 5'8 and a half. And my goal is to be 5'10. Is there anything I could possibly do to gain 1.5 inches or at least better my chances? This is asked by user personal-ad8919.
Nope. Fucked.
I've seen on shows, I believe called maybe a stretcher machine, where they hook up their legs and then their arms and they just like roll a thing and it pulls them super hard.
And I've heard from scientific resources that your brain and your body are not fully developed until age 25. So I feel like if you can get on the stretcher machine before 25 years old.
And as we established previously, you can add to your penis, so why can't you add to your height?
And if necessary, as you are still below the age of 18, you still have a lot of time left in your educational career. Maybe pursuing a degree in something like biomedical engineering or some sort of doctoral within the medical field and being able to Gattaca yourself.
Do a little gene splicing with like a giraffe.
Little gene splicing, maybe take your brother's knees. Something along those lines might get you to kind of the hot height.
You know, I have heard of this new experimental surgery where people add length to, I believe, their shin bones. And they can add about an inch or two, which sounds like the question asker is what they're going for.
From Gattaca!
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Amazing.
Have you ever seen Gattaca?
Of course. Saw it for a science class.
Yeah, so did I.
One final question to wrap up our podcast. What happens if two fighters pick the same walkout song? What do they do?
They walk out together.
I don't think they would be able to. I think they'd fight over it first.
I think they'd walk out together at the same time, but they'd find some sort of coalition of peace because of their akin favoritism towards said song, and then they might kiss a little bit as they walk towards the ring. And instead of fighting when they get into the ring, they make sweet love to one another.
See, here's where I disagree with you. I do think they'd walk out together. I do think they'd have a little kiss and moment of peace. I do think, though, once the fight is on, they're in the zone, and I think whoever wins gets the song moving forward.
For next time?
Moving forward until
I don't.
they're beat again.
I think they'd have a fight about who gets the song.
But when would they sex?
I'm not sure if they would.
That's kind of sad.
It would be disappointing. As someone who'd be watching the fight, I think that'd be a fun twist and turn. Wonderful. Well, I'm glad that we were able to help multiple Reddit users. We will be answering their questions on the subreddits where they were asked. If you would like, please follow us on our subreddit, which is u/Yolk Everywhere.
And you can follow us on YouTube and Instagram and
Spotify and iTunes
And
Apple Music.
Twitter.
And we have our own podcast website hosted by Acast, which you can check out in the description.
Now, Joe, before we log off, would you like to plug anything that you are currently doing?
No.
Great.
Well, thank you, Joe, for being our season
Final
3 finale
guest.
guest.
Also, I wanted to say, leave comments on our YouTube channel and social media, and also reviews on iTunes. Let us know what you think and any thoughts you have for season 4.
And if you leave questions or comments on our YouTube channel, we will be sure to include them in upcoming episodes.
I'm going to comment the F slur in your YouTube section.
All right, well, I'd say we have gotten Yolk Everywhere for the whole
it's a
season. And
fucking mess.
we will, we'll have to clean this up.
Have to
And
take a shower.
once it's all cleaned up, we should be back
I'm going
for
to give a
season
shower
4.
to the microphone.
It's not waterproof.
We should record an episode of Yolk Everywhere in the shower together.
Okay, and bye.
Look forward to that in season 4.